ahead and get started. So just want to say hello and welcome. And I am so thrilled to have you here tonight because anyone that might be new to the community, I'm Shauna Kale, and I specialize in helping stressed out, overwhelmed, and worn out women live a life of less stress and more energy so they can do the things they love with those they love. So if you are stressed out, if you are overwhelmed, if you are worn out, feel free in the chat to let me know. If you don't know my story, that is where I came from, and I have found some tips and tools to help me lower my stress and increase my energy. And I'm so thankful because lately it has been a pretty stressful time, and so I'm glad to have these tools and then be able to share them with you also. And before we dive in, I'd love to know where everyone is joining us from. So just take a moment to drop your name and location in the chat. Also, if you have, again, any specific questions about the liver you'd like to cover tonight or this month, feel free to share those either in the chat or, like I said, if you have a specific question that you want me to get to at the end so we don't get lost in the chat, feel free to put that in the Q&A. So Carolyn's here from Choctaw, Oklahoma, and we're so grateful to have you here tonight, Carolyn. And let's see, we've got Pat from Oklahoma City. Welcome. We've got Donna Mahoney. I'm guessing Donna is in Tennessee right now. Donna, you have to let us know if you are traveling or if you are in Tennessee right now. And then tonight we're going to actually explore a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of our health, which is the liver. And the liver plays a crucial role in our overall well-being, and understanding how to support the liver, who I call mom, can make a world of difference in our energy levels and our vitality. And that's one thing that I have found, that when we feel good, right? When we are healthy and able to do all the things that we love to do, we have the energy to do it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. All right. So if you're not sure if your liver needs help, here are just a few of the signs that your liver is saying help. I just love that little liver there holding up its sign, help, help. And many of us have had a liver that has said that maybe today, maybe last week, maybe last year. But I want you to just let us know if you have 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 of these signs just in the chat. Give us a little number here on how many of these are affecting you. Believe me, you are not alone. I've had all of these at one time or another in my life, and I'm currently dealing with 2 of them, which is much better than 5 of them last month or 3 of them last week. So I just want you to know, when we start implementing some of these things, we can see changes pretty quickly. And so, yeah, just want to share that these are some of the signs that our liver is needing some help. Now, last week's masterclass, we covered the liver's role in energy, how a healthy liver contributes to sustained energy levels. I shared why I call the liver mom, used a little I Love Lucy. And we talked about energy sources, energy boosters, key practices that included both movement and sleep to support liver health. I talked about practical tips, how to incorporate these practices into your daily routine. I'd love to know if anyone incorporated anything they learned last week into their daily practices this week. So yeah, just let me know if you have put any of those into effect. And yeah, it's good to see you here too, Renee. And Renee, I completely understand the 5. I had 5 last month. And so yeah, this was perfect timing for me to start adding in some liver support. And if anybody missed the masterclass last week and would like a link to watch it, let me know inside the chat, and I'm happy to send that to you so that you can have that to watch. You do not need to know that information to learn what I have to share tonight, but it is good information to help you just be all around connected to what the liver has to offer us. Now, in today's masterclass, you're going to learn the powerful emotional connection to healing the liver. All right. And then next week's masterclass, you're going to learn 3 ways to rejuvenate your liver. We're going to discuss the power of Juva products, explore how Juva products specifically support liver health and promote overall wellness. We're going to discover some effective methods to use essential oils and supplements to detoxify, nourish, and revitalize your liver. And by the end of that masterclass, you'll have practical knowledge and tools to enhance and support your liver's health. So, hello, Martha. Good to have you here. And it looks like Renee has started putting into effect hot water in the morning with lemon oil. That is a wonderful way to support the liver all year around. Okay. In the last masterclass that we're going to have this month, we're going to explore the vital role of the drainage funnel in maintaining liver health. So you can just see that drainage funnel and where liver and bile ducts are. That is where we're going to be focusing. And that session is designed to provide you with comprehensive insights into how proper drainage and detoxification can enhance your liver's function and overall well-being. So as you can see this month, you will learn all facets around liver health, and we'll have plenty of learning opportunities and, even more importantly, putting what you learn into action, because just having it here and not actually doing it is not going to help us. So if you missed our healing modality session on Monday, I shared a 15-minute liver meditation, and I recommend doing it for at least 21 days. I've currently completed 4 days, and I've already decreased my liver symptoms down from 3 last Thursday to 2. And so I'm telling you, some of these little things that we can do really can make a big difference. So if you've done the liver meditation, feel free in the chat to share any thoughts you may have with everybody else. But I know for me, it's something I've really been looking forward to in the mornings. All right, so let's get started to today's masterclass, Healing the Liver, the Powerful Emotional Connection. Okay. So in today's masterclass, these are the objectives. We're going to talk about the science of emotion and the body. We're going to explore cutting edge research on how emotions manifest in different organs. We're going to discuss anger in the liver. My goal is to help you better understand why anger tends to be stored in the liver and the impact this has on overall health. And last but not least, we're going to discuss healing practices. And my goal is that you will leave here tonight with some practical tools and techniques to release stored emotions and promote liver health. I believe that understanding the powerful emotional connection to the liver, you're going to unlock new pathways to healing and well-being. So let's go ahead and dive in right now to the science of emotions. So the research out there really reveals the intricate connection between our emotional states and our physical organs. So here's the thing. For centuries, many cultures have recognized a link between emotions and physical health. And modern science today is catching up. So we're really finding evidence for what many have known for years intuitively. And so I always think that's cool when it just starts catching up with each other. And so we're going to start with the basics. And I believe that we are spiritual, emotional, and physical bodies, and that they're not separate entities, okay? But part of an interconnected system that I call you, right? Capital Y-O-U, you. And when we experience emotions, our bodies respond in measurable physical ways. So I want you to look at this a little closer. Our spirit being is where I believe our beliefs, the essence of who we are is. This is our energetic being. And I agree with many that our heart is the core from where our spiritual being is. We also have this physical body that I have in this purple color here. And this is the part we feel, we see, and y'all can see me right now. This is the part I can touch. It's the inner part of me that I might not be able to touch, but it's there, it's real. And then we have the emotional body. And I see it as, I do in this graphic, as the connection between our spiritual energetic being and our physical being. And it's where we connect to ourselves. It's where we connect to others. It's where we connect with God. These are our emotions, okay? And so emotions have been called energy in motion. So again, that spiritual belief part, that is our energetic being, but what moves that is our emotions, and then we can feel it in our physical body. So let's look more at what science has found over the last decade or so, okay? So we have the heart, and you're going to see the heart up there on the top. And love, compassion, and gratitude have been shown to improve heart rate variability, which is a sign of emotional health and physical health, and overall cardiovascular health. So we can see here how an emotion can change something at the physical level, all right? I've done training in heart math, and it's amazing how easily we can make changes physically by shifting our emotions. Now, when I say easy, I don't necessarily mean shifting our emotions is easy, but that when we do it, it is visibly seen on something like biofeedback that's checking out our physical body. And it's seeing that our heart is actually changing when our emotions change. So I think that's pretty amazing. Conversely, hate and impatience can increase stress and anxiety, which lead to an increase in blood pressure and heart rate. All right. So again, just changing our emotions changing from something like love and compassion to something like hate and impatience changes our physical body, our physiology. So the stomach, all right. Have you ever felt butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous? Well, that's because the gut is lined with neurons, often called our second brain. So we know we have neurons in our brain, but we also have this nervous system within our gut. And worry, anxiety, and stress can lead to digestive issues, while positive emotions can aid digestion. All right. And so I want you to know that if you have issues, digestive issues, and you might say, oh, I don't worry that much, or I don't really have anxiety. Well, I'm just letting you know that these emotions have been found to be connected, and we're not always connecting with our emotions and paying attention to them. And we also have to pay attention to the positive emotions that can aid in digestion. And this is why it's always recommended to eat sitting down in a relaxed state, not in a stressed state. Taking a moment to pray before a meal can be both a spiritual, an emotional, and physical tool to support overall health. And then we have the lungs. Emotions like grief, sadness, and depression can literally make us feel short of breath, okay? Can actually make us not be able to breathe as deep. So what we found is deep, calm breathing associated with positive emotions can improve lung function and oxygen uptake. This is why I like teaching breathing techniques along with affirmations, because if we are deep breathing with negative thoughts, this can lead to negative emotions and decrease our lung capacity, which then makes it feel difficult to do breathing techniques. So if you are one of those people that have a really hard time doing breathing techniques, and making sure that you're praying or adding an affirmation or something during that time, might be really helpful for you. All right. Now let's move to the kidneys. In traditional Chinese medicine, that's associated with fear. And modern research has shown that chronic stress and anxiety can indeed impact kidney function. And then we get to the liver, which we're going to explore in more depth later, but it's particularly affected by emotions like anger and frustration. And these emotions can impact liver function and overall health. All right. So we see all these, we come to the liver, which is what we're going to expand on more. But first, I want to show one of my favorite studies, which was a groundbreaking study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, where they actually mapped emotions to specific body sensations across cultures. So they asked all different kind of cultures, when you're feeling sadness, where do you feel it? And they would mark it on the sheet. And then they found consistent patterns that anger was felt in the chest and head, while joy spread throughout the body. And then they took the same information and they did thermoscans, and they asked people how they were feeling, and they were able to see that it matched. So they use all these different techniques, and they're like, you know what? Like, this is universal. It doesn't matter if you're angry in India or you're angry in Oklahoma. We tend to hold anger in the same location. All right. So what we need to remember from this is what we feel in our body can be a sign of what is going on emotionally within. And so right here, if you feel warm all over, that could be a sign of happiness. And if you feel hot on top and numb in other areas, that could be a sign of anger or fear. Has anybody ever felt like their head's going to explode? That would be me. And if you ever really feel hot in the belly region, this could be disgust. And if you feel cold in your hands and feet, this could be a sign of sadness. So does anyone out there find this interesting, or am I the only one? Because I feel like this is really cool to be able to visually see. Now, I have found that if we were to give a word to all of this, it would be stress. And I'm not the only one. The American International Academy of Stress says that 90% or more of diseases and illness is stress related. All right. And so Donna says it's totally fascinating, and Renee says very interesting. I agree. Like, I just find these emotions and this connection to these organs so, so interesting. So I want you to go to the bottom left. You'll see a number 1, and it says stress. And that is kind of where things start. Okay. Our body has to deal with stressors every day, no matter what type of stressor it is. And I shared in the previous masterclass, I call her liver mom because she has to deal with everything that comes to the body or that the body deals with inside. So if your body is stressed, okay, and stress is a physiological response to stressors, this affects your liver. So you're going to see 1 stress and then it goes straight to number 2. So if you are angry, jealous, envious, or frustrated, the liver and gallbladder take on this energy in motion, and emotion is energy in motion. And physically, this turns on more cholesterol production inside the liver. Bile production becomes imbalanced, impairs digestion, and the blood in the liver begins to move slower and maybe even become stagnant, which reduces the liver's ability to detoxify the body from all the toxins in the environment and created within the body. All right. And so this stress plus the effects of the emotions of anger at the liver then affects the heart. Okay. So if you go up to the next part, number 3, affects the heart and small intestine, and you may feel the emotions of hate or impatience, which leads to heart palpitations, high blood pressure, and chest pain. So if we don't take care of the anger or hate, this can lead to the stomach and pancreas, where we worry, mistrust, and find that anxiety builds up, which can then impair digestion, affect the ability to eliminate waste, aka you have constipation. And if this is not released, we find that the stress, anger, anxiety leads to depression and sadness, which can affect breathing problems, decrease oxygen in the blood, and further constipation. This can then lead to fear and affect the kidneys and bladder, and you begin to feel a loss of energy, and the nervous system becomes even more stressed, and the cycle continues, which is why this is called stress and emotions creation cycle. All right. So if you have any of these symptoms that are in 1, which is stress, 2, which is the anger, jealousy, envy, frustration, or in 3, 4, 5, or 6, just put a number in the chat. If you feel all of these right now or at some time, feel free to share. But I want you to understand that we all have emotions, and it's okay for us to say, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a bit frustrated right now. I'm depressed. I'm sad. Donna says, I see and I feel these. So who has heard of psychoneuroimmunology? I know that's a big word, right? If you've heard of this before, just put a big Y in the chat for me. And if you haven't, it's okay, because it's a pretty new field. This is also known as PNI, and PNI is an interdisciplinary field of neuroscience that studies the interactions between the nervous system, behavior, endocrinology, that's your hormone system, and immunology. This field began in the 1960s when researchers started to make connections between stress and immune function. And then in 1969, Solomon coined the term psychoimmunology after discovering that psychological factors like stress and emotional distress could negatively impact the immune system. So, here's the thing, y'all. If our immune system, if you find that you get sick or that you just have this low level energy because your immune system is having to work all really hard, it can be emotional related. So in 1975, Adder and his colleagues coined the term psychoneuroimmunology to describe the connections, again, between the brain, the nervous system, and the immune system. Research in the field of psychoneuroimmunology has shown that our emotional states can directly influence our immune system. Did you hear what I just said? Our emotional states can directly influence our immune system, okay? That means positive emotions can boost immune function. So if you want to boost your immune function, positive emotions, while chronic negative emotions can suppress it. So there's always two sides of the coin, and we have both the heads and the tails. We have the ability to either have positive emotions or negative emotions. Now, understanding this connection gives us powerful tools for healing. So by addressing our emotional states, we can potentially influence our physical health and vice versa. So as we move forward in this masterclass, keep in mind this fundamental truth: our bodies and emotions are in constant dialogue, all right? So Donna had shared that she got some news earlier that made her feel sad. And Donna, that is natural. It's natural to feel sad. It's okay to feel sad. But we also have to understand how sadness can affect our bodies. So we want to make sure that if we're feeling sad, right, we allow ourselves to feel that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about emotions and how we can really digest that, right? Allow yourself to feel the sadness and then allow yourself to release it, to move on, okay? Carolyn says that I'm freezing. Am I freezing on anybody else? I just got a new internet service, y'all, and it's supposed to be super, super good. So I'm hoping it's not coming from my side. If it is, I'm so sorry. So chronic unresolved emotional states are related to stagnation, okay? And that can look different in different organs. So in the case of the liver, when we see a down-regulated immune system, this is a sign of liver stagnation. All right? Thanks, Mom, for saying it's working good. All right. So Carolyn said it was disconnected, but good now. All right, hopefully it's working now. So I want you to think about whenever you have a downregulated immune system, this is a sign of liver stagnation. So a lot of times people are like, oh, my doctor said that my liver's fine. We're not talking about liver disease here. We're talking about a stagnated liver, meaning it's working slower. It's not working to its full optimal ability, all right? So let's talk about inflammation. The liver makes what's called the C-reactive protein, which is a sign of increased inflammation. Has anybody ever had a C-reactive test on their protein test, CRP on a blood test, and it's high and it means inflammation? I want you to know if that is high, that is a sign of liver stagnation, okay? Last week we talked a little bit about this, but a fatty liver, okay? A fatty liver can be a sign of too much glucose. Liver can't store it as glycogen in the liver for, it gets only to a certain percent, and then it has to store it somewhere else. So it stores that glucose in fat cells through a process called, I like this word here, y'all, hepatic de novo lipogenesis. Doesn't that sound special? All it really means is it's putting this glucose inside of fat cells that then get to become part of our liver, which is not necessarily good, okay? And over time, this accumulation of fat cells in the liver can replace liver cells and lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, okay? So for years, they thought if you had a fatty liver, that was because you were an alcoholic. Well, if you don't know this, alcohol and sugar really are not that much difference. They both have a lot of the same chemistry, okay? Chemistry makeup. So sure, consuming too much refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup can cause a fatty buildup in the liver that can lead to disease. But could this also be related to stored emotions? So they have found, yes, it can. Now, I know we're focusing on the liver, but as I showed in the stress and emotion creation cycle a few slides back, the liver is where it starts, but it affects many other organs, okay? So you can see around the liver here, many other organs, and I just kind of want to share that chronic emotional states are linked to all different types of disease processes that we have, but there's some things that we deal with sometimes seasonally, aka allergies. Does anybody deal with seasonal allergies, or maybe you have what's turned into like allergies all year round? This is often due to stagnation of what's called the exocrine fluids. Okay, so if you have seasonal allergies, or again, allergies all the time, just let me know in the chat. All right, I want to know who we have here that might be dealing with allergies. So what are exocrine fluids? Well, they are substances secreted by your exocrine glands, which are glands that release substances through a duct or opening to a body surface. Pat, I will make sure that you get last week's link. Thanks for sharing. Okay. So does anybody ever have a runny nose or leaky eyes, right? Or if you sweat, right? All of those are related to these exocrine glands. So sweat comes out, our sweat glands, our eccrine sweat glands, tears come out from our lacrimal glands, saliva is secreted by our salivary glands, and milk, if we are breastfeeding, secreted by our mammary glands. And then we have digestive juices secreted by glands in the stomach. We have glands in our pancreas and our intestines, all of these different areas. The liver has something special called bile, which contains salts and digestive substances, all right? Urine, okay, is secreted by the kidneys, which are glands to regulate body fluid volume and composition and to excrete nitrogenous wastes. All right, so here's the thing. The stagnant exocrine fluids trap allergens in our senses, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears, okay? And when those, and even our skin, and when those are pulled in, they can, because of this stagnation, not be moving the way they need to. They're not released the way that they need to, and we call that an allergy because our body's having a histamine reaction to it. And we have symptoms, right? And the symptoms are, again, things like tearing up, a runny nose, maybe sneezing, maybe coughing. The fluids become stuck, blocking full resolution from occurring. So you might be like, okay, so how do these seasonal allergies relate to emotions? Well, here's how it happens. Let's say that cedarwood is high one day, and that same day you're angry, all right? But you didn't feel safe to release that emotion, so you just stored that anger in your liver. Does anybody ever get angry, but nobody knows it because you're just holding it in? By golly, you're not gonna let anybody know how angry you are, right? You've got control, you're gonna hold it in. And let's say at the same time that affected the flow of bile that we learned earlier. Anger can slow down the flow of bile and created a connection between your liver, anger, bile. And now whenever cedarwood is high and your body senses it, that emotion of anger is triggered and the allergic reaction is triggered also. So who finds that interesting? Am I the only one? So here's the thing. Releasing emotions like anger from the liver can help with seasonal allergies. So Donna says, that's interesting. I have 2 family members that suffer from allergies. Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay. So, you know, if you're like, how can releasing emotions help me with seasonal allergies or anything for that matter? Well, I've personally had it happen to me, but I've seen it happen for others too. I've taught several times a 21-day reset, and where we use the breath to release emotions that we may be holding on to. And I actually released allergic type reactions I had to cigarette smoke, like headaches, anger, my body would just feel terrible if I was around any type of cigarette smokes, but I even got angry too. And 2 years ago, I walked myself through this 21-day reset, and I was able to let go of what I was holding on to regarding that cigarette smoke. And that was 2 years ago, and I still have not had a negative reaction to cigarette smoke. Now, I don't like go places to just smell smoke. I don't currently smoke cigarettes or anything like that, but I do smell it at times. And before, like y'all, somebody could be in a car in front of me and I could smell it from their car to my car. It'd make me angry. It would make my head hurt. I'd just be ticked off, and that's gone. So I want you to know that there are things that we can do when we release these emotions that we're holding on to improve our health. All right. So again, we're going to dive even deeper on this anger and liver. So why is anger stored in the liver, and what's its impact on your health? So let's focus specifically on the connection of the relationship between anger and the liver. So both Eastern and Western medicine, the liver has long been associated with anger. I don't think that there's really a lot of people out there that disagree with this because of the research that's there. But let's just kind of explore the science behind the connection and its impact on our health. All right. First, let's remember the liver's function, okay? It's not just a filter for toxins, it's also a powerhouse organ involved in over 500 vital functions. The liver regulates hormones, it stores energy, and it helps process emotions. Did you hear what I just said? Our liver processes emotions. So, when we experience anger, our body goes into a stress response. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So has anyone ever had a Zyto Insight scan and it showed cortisol or adrenaline as a stressor? I know that has popped up on Zyto scans that I've done before. And I'm sure it's showed up on mine too, because I'm pretty sure every stressor has shown up on mine at some time or another. But what's interesting is the liver plays a crucial role in metabolizing both cortisol and adrenaline, okay? Which means it breaks them down. So when we're constantly angry or stressed, the liver can become overwhelmed, leading to a buildup of these hormones in our system. And when these hormones are very high, we feel angry. So isn't it interesting that what causes the hormonal change of anger is also what makes us feel angry? All right. And this happens so quickly. The stressor comes, our body gets angry. Now, I want you to think about this. A lot of times we just think of it as the emotional side of anger, like, oh, that person made me so mad and I'm angry. But if you've ever had like your toe stepped on, you might get angry at the person that stepped on it, but your toe actually gets angry too. It gets red and it gets inflamed, right? That is anger also in that toe area. And that increases adrenaline and that increases cortisol. And so traditional Chinese medicine has long held that the liver is the organ most affected by anger, like I said before. And some believe that the emotion anger has a specific frequency that is also the same as the frequency of the liver. So people often ask, well, why does anger hang out in the liver? Why doesn't it hang it out over here or over there? What they found is all of our organs have different frequencies, and different emotions have different frequencies, and they kind of are attracted to each other. And so in this case, that is kind of what they have found about the different emotions I've talked about in the different parts of the body. So what about unexpressed or repressed anger? Because there's a lot of people that will be like, oh, I never get angry. Well, this anger that has not been metabolized, it slows down the liver and can cause what we call liver stagnation, like I talked about earlier, leading to various physical and emotional symptoms. So you do not have to feel angry for anger to be stored somewhere, like your liver. What does modern science say? Recent studies have shown some intriguing connections. So a study published in the Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology is the liver, found that anger and hostility were associated with increased levels of inflammatory markers in patients with liver disease. Okay, so this is always that chicken and the egg. Did the person have liver disease because and that caused the inflammatory markers to go up, or did the inflammatory markers go up and that caused the liver disease? Guess what? Both. All right. For some, it may be one, and for others, it may be the other. Research has shown that chronic stress and negative emotions can contribute to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition affecting millions worldwide. Again, can food affect it? Can inflammation affect it? Yes. Can emotions cause these things? Yes. Anger, again, has been linked to increased production of bile acids. And while bile is necessary for digestion, excess can lead to liver problems and gallbladder problems over time. So if y'all have ever heard me talk about the gallbladder, I typically say, if you have lost your gallbladder, meaning they've had to remove it or you've had gallbladder issues, it started in the liver, okay? The liver might have caused too much bile to be stored in that. It may have some specific minerals in it that is causing the bile to go into the gallbladder and causing disease. And so know that if you've had gallbladder issues, you've had some issues with your liver, all right? And again, it could just be this emotional tie. You may be doing all the things right that you think you need to be doing, eating right, exercising, and then you still have these gallbladder issues, this liver issues, and you're asking why. The impact of this anger-liver connection on our health can be significant. So chronic anger, that means anger that we tend to feel over and over, or that we're storing for long periods of time and we are not even aware of it, can lead to inflammation in the liver, potentially contributing to liver disease. It can disrupt the liver's ability to detoxify the body effectively, leading to a buildup of toxins. So these emotions, like anger, can be stored in the liver. It can slow down the liver, and then toxins start building up that maybe before you were able to get rid of easily. It was going through your bile, out through the body like it needs to, but because of this emotion, like anger, the body's not able to do what it needs to do with these toxins. The stress response triggered by frequent anger can lead to hormonal imbalances, which the liver then has to work harder to regulate. So anyone have hormone issues? All right. If anybody has gone through menopause, I'm in the midst of it now, right? And it's really interesting, the information about menopause and anger in the liver, because when our hormones are changing, that starts changing. And so it may cause our adrenaline to go up. It may cause our cortisol to go up. And when those go up, then we feel more angry, and we feel more angry. It affects our hormones, and you see the cycle that can happen. So, again, this is where I find that my liver and my anger affect me the most, is my hormones. Hormones are just messengers, and they're sending out the messages that we give our body. And what happens is, over time, this cycle can contribute to fatigue, mood swings, digestive issues, and even more serious health problems. But there is good news. I want y'all to know there's good news. Understanding this connection gives us a powerful tool for healing, okay? So by addressing our anger and our emotional health, we can potentially improve our liver function and overall well-being. So in this next section that we're going to talk, we're going to explore practical techniques to release stored anger and promote liver health. Remember, this isn't about suppressing anger. It's about processing it in healthy ways that support both our emotional and physical health. So, now I have brought up a fatty liver several times in the term sluggish liver, and I wanted to share this graphic that I have in my book, Bye Bye Normal, Hello Exceptional. The more of these symptoms or signs that you have, the more sluggish your liver is, and the more likely you have a fatty liver. So if you're like, oh, I just have one or two, then it might be a little sluggish. But if you're like, oh, I've got like 10 of these, I want you to know that it's going to be more sluggish. So, just kind of go through there and make note, like I have 1, I have 2, I have 5, I have 10. And if you want to share in the chat, feel free. I promise you are not alone. Again, through the years, I've had each one of these. This is why I constantly am working on my liver. So Janet says, I have a fatty liver and I've had breast cancer linked. I would definitely say there is a link. Whether or not you were diagnosed with fatty liver before the breast cancer or after, because if you had any type of treatments for breast cancer and any medications we take, that has to go through the liver. So that can affect the liver to be sluggish. But I do believe that there are lots of different links with breast cancer and emotions. And so, and with the fatty liver. So just know that there are probably some connections to all three. Carolyn asked, can we isolate the live and breath in and out through live to help it? I'm not sure exactly, but if you are talking about using breath work, we're going to get to that in just a minute on helping support the liver. So in my book, I share quite a bit about the liver because as soon as I first learned about the emotional connection, I went right into what I do best, and that is researching the topic. So you see, I had been a PT for almost 20 years at the time, and every day I worked with people who had pain. And though I was a very good PT and helped thousands of people decrease their pain, I personally had right lower back pain that not me, nor my husband, who's also a PT, any of my PT friends, or the many experts that I had taken classes from could help. My back pain just consistently was there until the day I went to a care intensive and learned about emotional release. And let me tell you, if you are still trying to wrap your head around how emotions in the body are connected, know that I too had a hard time, and I was very resistant to the whole idea. But I had a personal amazing experience where I walked through an emotional release process, and my back pain of almost 20 years went completely away, and it didn't return for almost 6 months, from March to October. And when it did, I knew exactly what emotion I was storing, and I was able to release it, and the pain again went away. So do I occasionally have this right lower back pain? Yes. But am I able to release it in just a few minutes every time? Yes. And this didn't even happen when I used ibuprofen or exercise. They helped me manage my pain, but they never took my pain away. So emotional release relieved my pain completely. And so I share in this little excerpt here that from my book, because after that experience, I began going through the Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils book, which is this book right here. I started working on emotion after emotion. To be honest, I pretty much just started with the first page because I could not even really connect with my emotions. I didn't really understand what if I was feeling anything. I know more now that I was in a trauma-free state, but I was able to start working through those. And here's the thing, a lot of times people ask me questions like, well, how do you know emotional release works? Or they'll ask, how long does it take? I did it once and I didn't have an amazing story like you, Shauna. Well, my answer is always, all I know is that it has worked for me. It worked for me that very first time when I didn't even believe it could, okay? And even though I was resistant, taking the action allowed me to have the most amazing result, as I said. So my first thing I always tell people is just take action, okay? Even if you don't believe in it, just take an action. It's not going to hurt anything, I promise. And then I've now been pain-free in my right lower back since 2012. So I'm telling you, this is like so worth it, so worth it. And because I dealt with that back pain for like 20 years. I also know that I spent 30 or more days multiple times over a 3-year period releasing anger. And I didn't know if it was working. That's why I kept doing it. Okay. But one day when my family was traveling, we went to a pizza place, and my youngest son, Bryce, spilled his water. And I kind of laughed and handed him a napkin, and I said, you might want to clean that up before you get wet. And my oldest son, Ryan, just looked at me and said, are you not going to get mad and yell at him? And I answered back, it's okay, he just spilled water. But it was at that moment, and I just got my chill bumps, because when I remember that, I realized in the past something as minor as spilled water would have been an emotional trigger and sent me in a tailspin. And on this page, you can see the story. I would have gotten angry, and everyone in the pizza place would have known it, felt it, and heard it, okay? The funny thing is, the other side of anger is laughter. And that is what I had done. I had laughed. The thought not only had I removed the anger, but I had laughter in its place, allowed me to see I was healing. Okay. So it wasn't like I did the emotional release for anger one time and then I never got angry again. That's not how it works. Okay. Things still happen that's going to make us angry. And if we've been storing anger for a long time, it's just like that allergy that I was talking about earlier, that cedar wood that's coming out, and it's a trigger to something that you've held on to in the past, and it sets off this immune response, this allergy response. The same thing happens if there is something in our past that has triggered something and we have connected that with anger and into our liver. Okay. And so when it happens again, like for me, for years, if somebody spilled water for whatever reason, I'd lose it. All right. I'd get angry. Okay. And so my question for you is, what emotions would you like to release? What areas or organs would you like to heal? And I would love for you to share in the chat those areas or emotions that you would like to release. So I then have this wonderful quote on the bottom of this page that says, avoiding your triggers isn't healing. Healing happens when you are triggered and you're able to move through the pain, the pattern in the story, and walk your way to a different ending. Vienna Farron. I shared earlier with y'all that I had this trigger, this response, this reaction to cigarette smoke for years. Like I can remember being very, very young. And I would just try and stay away from it. And I would just get mad if somebody was smoking around me because they were running my air, and then I'd get a headache and I'd get angry. And it wasn't until I was able to release that anger, until I was able to release this connection that I had to the cigarette smoke, more or less an allergy of such, that no longer did I have to stay away from something to not be triggered. And that's when I knew I was healed. Okay. So I want to let you know, I had healed when I responded with laugh instead of anger to a past trigger. I was healed when I could be around cigarette smoke and not have a headache and not get angry. Okay. I want you to think about what ending you're wanting. All right. What kind of response do you want to have when something comes your way? Janet says, I have anger issues and the fatty liver. So Janet, now you know, like there's a connection there, right? So what are the things that we can do to help support you to release that anger, right? Which then can start breaking down some of that fatty liver that's been going on. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about the final, perhaps most crucial part of this masterclass, and that is healing practices. Now that we understand the connection between emotions, particularly anger and liver health, let's explore practical techniques to release stored emotions and boost the liver. All right. And I want you to make sure as we go through them to let me know in the chat which of these practices you might like to practice this month. All right. So right here, journaling. The first one is journaling. Spend 10 to 15 minutes each day writing freely about your feelings. This helps process emotions and prevent them from being stored in the body. All right. So in Nagoya University, this is in Japan, there was a research group that discovered that writing down one's reaction to a negative incident on a piece of paper and then shredding it and throwing it away reduces feelings of anger. Now, here is the funny thing. This was actually unexpected. All right. And they really thought that it would cause more suppression of anger to some extent. And what they found was that anger was eliminated almost entirely. Now, you might be asking, well, how did they know? Well, they, when they do research, they're able to do lots of things. So remember how we saw the thermoscan of where anger can be held and stuff? So they could see that starting to dissipate whenever people were writing down these feelings that they had and then tear it up and throw it away. So this is an assignment that I have given many of the women I've worked with. By writing it down, we are physically using energy, okay, to release energy that we've stored. So we're allowing it to move from our liver out through our hand onto the paper, and then we're able to tear it up because no need to keep why you were angry in the first place. We're going to let it go and throw it away. And once we've written it down, right, we are releasing it. And the amazing stories that I've read before of people doing this and really able to release it. So that's just one. That's one technique. If that's something that interests you, might be something you want to practice this month, just let me know inside the chat. Carolyn says, I'd like to get rid of inflammation in the joints of my fingers from arthritis. Yeah, so you know what? Inflammation is related to the liver, and that's what we're talking about. So Carolyn, any of these practices that we're talking could definitely be beneficial for what you're going through right now. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is called EFT, or tapping. If you've heard of EFT tapping before, or you've done it before, just let me know in the chat. This technique involves tapping on specific meridian points while focusing on emotional issues. It can help release pent-up anger and stress. So the first time I learned about EFT was at a PT continuing education course on stress many, many years ago. This was way before I really understood all the things that I'm teaching today. But it is a very well-known research technique that even many hospitals are now using based on the positive outcomes from the studies. So Donna says she's heard of it and done some of it a little bit. Yeah, Donna, it's pretty amazing how it works. Some studies have found that EFT can also lead to changes in biomarkers. So this is how they check, right? For example, one study found that after 6 sessions of clinical EFT workshop, that means they were walking them through this emotional freedom technique, participants experienced a 61.42% increase in saliva SIG-A. So they were checking their saliva and it was increasing. And what SIG-A levels happen, or they decrease during anger or frustration, but they increase during compassion or care. So what they were able to show is doing an EFT session that they were actually making changes in their saliva during this time. All right. And then they found that there was a 48.58% decrease in cortisol concentration. So what does that mean? Well, we know that cortisol is associated with anger outbursts during stressful events. So what they found is by doing EFT, the cortisol actually decreased by 48.58%. That's almost 50%. That is a really big deal if you have high cortisol levels. Much more than most supplements or medications that you can take to change your cortisol levels, done by something like EFT. Some university students found that those who participated in EFT reported greater decreases in anger, anxiety, and shame than students who participated in a control group that used mindful breathing instead of tapping. So who would like to master anger instead of just manage it? Let me know in the chat. Renee says she's interested in trying it again. Well, Renee, stick with me because we're going to talk about how you can do that again, right? So what's the difference between mastering anger and managing anger? Well, many of us have managed our anger by holding it in and not letting anyone see how we feel. Sometimes we hold it in and it creates damage to the organ, like cirrhosis of the liver, liver cancer, fatty liver, okay? Others, like me, hold it until we explode like a volcano. When we've mastered anger, we have been able to release anger in a way that is not damaging to ourselves or others. All right. So again, some techniques that we can use, like I said in the beginning, is journaling. When you're feeling that, don't be holding it in, and don't hold it in until you let it out and you hurt somebody, right? Or yourself by holding it in and it causing damage. Do something like journaling. Do something like the EFT. So Donna says she'd like to master it. Janet would definitely like to. Carolyn, Vicky, master my anger. I think that'd be a nice new terminology to have, right? Yes, Mom says she needs it too. So here we go. Breath work. Let's bring this over to breath work. Okay. Breath work and research, the breath hold has been shown to help the body release anger. This is the technique I actually share in the red zone in the stress continuum, where we tend to be when we are angry or holding anger and become overwhelmed with toxic emotions. Now, I shared that a study showed that tapping worked better than breath work in a university study, right? Here's the thing though, we don't know what type of breath work they had the control group using. So there are different types of breathing techniques based on what the body needs. So we need to remember, if we're not getting the results we want, we may need to use a different technique. We tend to just go, oh, breath work doesn't work for me. Well, if I said earlier, if we're using breath work, but we have these negative emotions going on, maybe we need to add a positive affirmation so that we can breathe easier. Or maybe they were using a breathing technique that was for a calm state or for anxiety instead of for anger, and so they didn't see the difference. So I just want you to know there's lots of different breathwork techniques, and several breathwork studies have shown that with practice, breathwork has helped many people master anger. But the ability to let go using the breath may take more practice than using tapping, which is based on disrupting the energy through the different meridians of the body. So there are two different techniques. We're working them in two different ways in the physical body. And sometimes people need to disrupt that energy by doing something like tapping to remove that anger. And some other people can just do breath work and be able to release it. So everybody is different, and that's why I'm giving you multiple tools. So again, let me know if there's a tool that's really speaking to you, because it helps me know what direction to go as we move through. Meditation. I shared earlier that we did a meditation on Monday for the liver. Meditation is a time to focus on what it is we are wanting to let go of and what we want to bring in. In this case, breathing into the area of the liver and allowing release, okay? Meditation can help with liver health by reducing stress, which can be beneficial for people with liver conditions. Meditation can also improve sleep quality and lower stress hormones such as cortisol, which has been shown to affect the liver, right? So if our cortisol is up all the time, that's going to affect our liver, and then our liver allows us to feel anger a lot easier. Maybe it could just be the littlest thing happens and you get angry about it. Whereas if you had got the sleep, if you had had lower cortisol, it wouldn't have bothered you. All right. Some research suggests that meditation can also help people with liver conditions make healthier lifestyle choices. So meditation can help us so that we're making better decisions. So maybe being angry leads us to eating more sugar. Am I the only one? All right. And so anger itself can cause fatty liver, and too much sugar can cause fatty liver. So those two things, doing something like a liver meditation, might help me release anger. It might help me decrease cortisol, and it might help me make better choices and not eat as much sugar. Mindfulness-based stress reduction can also help you be more resilient to stressors and less likely to get angry, just like I said a minute ago, right? So if the little things don't bother you and make you angry as much, then you're not going to increase your cortisol, and then you're not going to affect your liver as much, which then is not going to make more anger. It's a vicious cycle. A study found that a short program of mindfulness and meditation improved psychosocial stress in patients with end-stage liver disease and their caregivers. What is this saying? It's saying even if you already have fatty liver, even if you have liver cancer, even if you have liver disease, in this case, end-stage liver disease, doing something like meditation can help support and decrease your stress levels, which then is going to help for healing. Another study found that mindfulness-based stress reduction may have improved inflammation and medication needs in patients with autoimmune hepatitis. So that would be in the liver. Autoimmune of the liver is hepatitis. All right. So earlier, Carolyn, you were asking about, your hands and inflammation. Well, meditation has been found to help people with autoimmune hepatitis. Okay. Knowing that, we know that meditation can help decrease inflammation. And it also helps lower medication so that we don't need as much medication because we're able to decrease our stress levels. Regular meditation can help people become more self-aware, which can lead to healthier lifestyle choices that benefit liver function. Again, that could be all things from alcohol to drug-related to other things, unhealthy, not exercising enough, different things that are affecting our healthy lifestyle or an unhealthy lifestyle that could be affecting our liver. All right, another one is a physical practice for liver health, and this is liver massage. And this is just gently massaging the area below your rib cage on the right side. This can stimulate liver function and promote emotional release. Remember what we said earlier, the liver becomes stagnated. It's not moving the way it needs to. Sometimes it just needs some TLC, some tender loving care. Give it a little bit of a massage to remind it, hey, I need you to move this stuff out. Okay. Mom needs a hug. Just give that liver mom a little rub, and you can do that right now. All right. And there are some myofascial techniques that release the fascia around the liver that can also help people release emotions. And so if you've ever had a massage and became emotional during it, this is a sign that you were holding on to an emotion in a particular area that the massage therapist released with physical touch. And so know that you can help yourself and do this too. And there are exercises like the twist yoga pose. Gentle twist can help stimulate and detoxify the liver. You can do a seated spinal twist just by twisting your body like I am right now. All right. Or you can do a laying down one like she is here. And this can help release energy in the liver that needs to move. And using breath work also while you're doing this. So right now, if she moves her body one direction or head the other and she exhales, she can even help that release a little bit more. And then again, using affirmations and allowing yourself to let go of the emotion that is stored there. And you don't even have to know what it is that you're angry about. You don't have to know, even say, I am releasing anger. You can just breathe it out and let whatever is stored there go. Just say, I'm letting it go. And then there is forgiveness. Okay, a practice of forgiveness, cultivating forgiveness both for others and yourself. This can be a powerful tool for releasing stored anger. So remember, healing is a journey. All right, be patient and gentle with yourself as you incorporate these practices into your life. You can start small, even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. So I would love to, walk you through some different healing modalities. That's what I like to do on Monday mornings. So this Monday morning, I will be hosting a live healing modality session, and we're going to work on breath work, like the breath hold, and then moving into restorative breathing. That's to help us move out of that anger and move towards a calm state. And then we're going to do some emotional release using the Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils technique book. And we're going to use the essential oil purification, where I'm going to teach you how you can begin to move from anger to laughter. And then if time permits, we're going to do an EFT tapping technique for releasing anger. That takes about 10 minutes. So if we have the time, we're going to do that. If not, I do have a video that I am going to release to y'all to be able to do that on Monday. Okay. So as we conclude, I encourage you to attend the Monday session. It's at 10 a.m., the live session, so that we can work together on releasing this anger in our liver and supporting the liver in some positive ways. I would love, okay, for you to just share in side right now the chat if there's one thing that really spoke to you that you want to add to this month to help support your liver. Please let me know. And here's the thing. When we commit to practicing these regularly, over time, you're going to notice improvements, not just in your liver health, but in your overall emotional and physical well-being. So thank